This conference will now be recorded.
So in our previous class, we were working about the service SOAP, right? So where we have to create all the necessary rules like service SOAP. I mean, we have to have some rules created like service SOAP, service packages to be created, and we have to have XML stream rule, parse rule, and activities and classes, integration classes. So these are all the things we have created manually. And if we don't want to create all this manually, we can able to go for one wizard. Okay, so for that we have just gone for one wizard where we can able to create this XML streaming rules, parse rules, activities, and service SOAP rules. So this all can be done automatically created by using some wizards. Okay, so that is what we have seen. So whenever the requester is sending any request, so service SOAP has to be triggered and it has to process the necessary thing based on the activity what we are calling. And within this activity, if you want to interact with the database, we can able to do that, or if you want to perform any other thing like updation or deletion, so even those can be done. Okay, so once the necessary action is being done by the activity, we can able to send back the same as a response in the XML format. So for that we will be having one XML stream rule created. Okay, so for the testing purpose we have just seen how can we pass the data and how can we just see the XML response what we are getting. If we just see the instance of our service SOAP rule. So this is our service SOAP rule that has been created automatically as per the wizard. And if you want to create it manually also, you can able to do that. So for the testing purpose, actually this rule has to be triggered based on the request, what requester is sending. So if we just have something like en001, if we just click on execute, we should be seeing all the things as per the records we have in the data table. Okay, so on clicking on this, activity will be executed and it will be pulling all the necessary details, and these details are to be sent back in the XML request. Okay, in the XML stream. So this is what we have seen. Actually in the real time what it will be happening is if we are getting any kind of service request, so requester has to create few rules from his end. So in order to send the request, there should be some connect SOAP to be created. So connect SOAP is one of the rules that has to be created in order to send one request from the requester end. So once the request has been sent using connect SOAP, so this particular service SOAP will be in a position to accept that particular request from the connect SOAP rule, and it will be just converting the form from XML to its native language, and it will be having the activity to be triggered, and it will be just processing the things, and it will be sending back the response. So this is all the thing what we have seen as a server side, I mean as a service provider side. Now let us discuss something about connect SOAP. Okay, so if our application is a service provider, then we have to go for service rules, either service SOAP, service REST, or anything. And if at all, if our application is acting like a connector or the requester, okay, so we should be in a position to send one request. For that, we have to create all the necessary rules related to connectors, not the services. Okay, so now we'll just work on one example where our application needs to act as a requester. So we have already one service created. The purpose of the service SOAP is to accept one policy number, and based on that it will be giving all the necessary details. Now we'll be working on another thing like connect SOAP rule, where we will be sending the policy number in the connect SOAP, and automatically the service SOAP rule will be executed, and it will be sending it will be processing all the things, and it will be sending all the details or the response back to that connect SOAP rule, and we should be having it consumed. Okay, so we can able to have our application acting like a service SOAP or the connect SOAP. So as I told you, all the service related rules will be mainly created under implementation integration classes. Okay, so this is the class what we have created yesterday, and on top of this we have created one service. If at all, if you want to go for another service creation, it should be created on integration class only. If you want to go for another service REST or anything, so it has to be used on this integration which is created on our implementation class. So this is the approach what we follow. And if at all, if we are going for connect rules, either connect service, connect SOAP, or connect REST, any of the things, we will be having all the related rules created in the organization integration class. Okay, for sure the rules should to be created in the integration classes only, If it is like in service provider, they will be created in implement class specific integration classes, work specific integration classes. And if it is like in service connectors, those are to be created in the organization level integration classes. So our requirement here is I have to make my system to work as an requester. So I should be creating few rules like connect soap is the thing, and I have to have XML stream rule created, XML parse rule created, and I have to call this connect soap from somewhere. Okay, so we can design one section. Within this, we can able to have one text field for the policy number. Okay, so customer can able to, user can able to enter some policy number, and they just click on submit button. We have to get all these details as a requester. We have to get all these details by connecting to one service provider. Okay, as soon as they're entering the value like pn001 and clicking on submit, they have to get all the values displayed at the bottom, I mean in the below section, like amount policy tenure. So these all details they have to get it instantly. So they will be getting these details from the external service only. Okay, so that is what the service of what we have created. So now we should be in a position to consume the WSDL file of this particular service package or the service soap as an source to the as an service to this particular connector. Okay, so requester has to get this particular WSDL file from the service provider, and based on this he can able to just send the request and they can able to just send back the response. Okay, so this is the thing. And on clicking on submit button after entering this particular policy number, we have to get back all these details, meaning we should be calling this connect soap rule. Connect soap is the rule that has to be called on that button click. So usually connect soap rule can be called either using activity, that is like connect soap is the name of the method what we use there, and we can able to go from data transforms also. We can able to call one data transform. Within the data transform, we will be having something called connector options. Okay, from there also we can able to go for service requesting. Okay, so apart from all the rules yesterday what we are discussing, like XML stream, XML parse, and activity, the corresponding classes, connect soap, and apart from this, we need not have service package rule created. In the service related rules, we will be having service package. In the connector rules, we will not be having service package created. So we have to create few rules in the organization level integration class. Actually, this is the class what we use to create all the necessary rules related to our connectors. Okay, so we have to create XML stream rule, XML parse rule, and we have to create something related to activity for the calling of this particular connect soap, or we can able to create one data page. Okay, we can able to create one data page where we can also call the connect soap rule, and we have to create few classes and for the and the corresponding properties. Property should be like request property and the response property. We have to send one request, and based on that we'll be getting the response. So these are all the things that are to be created. Okay, so yesterday when you're working with service soap, we have just created one service package rule separately. Actually that is also not required. We can able to have this rule service package automatically created using service wizard also. Okay, and apart from this we have created some integration classes, and on top of that we have created some property level classes also for the request page and the response page. And even here in the integration in the connect for the connect related rules also we have to do the same, but there is one wizard where we need not create even the classes also. Yesterday we have created at least the classes, but here there is one wizard which is available for the connect rules where we need not create a single rule. We can blindly follow the particular wizard. Based on that, PRPC will be automatically getting out the number of properties to be created, the number of request properties or the response properties, the classes, and the XML stream rules or the parse rules, activity. These are all the things that will be created automatically by just providing one WSDL file location in this particular wizard. Okay, so based on that particular wizard file only, WSDL file only, it can able to understand what should be the method name, what should be the model request, what should be the model response. Okay, these are all things that will be created automatically. So we'll be having one wizard here. So that is integrations, connectors, and create SOAP integration. Okay. For the SOAP integrations, we'll be having this one. And if you want to create any other protocol apart from SOAP or REST or SAPI, you have to go with this one. Okay. Even for the SOAP also, we can able to go with this one. So this is the one of the wizard which is available till 8.1 only. After this 8.1 version, they are trying to remove this. Why? Because as I told you, this particular connect SOAP rule can be called either from activity or from the data page also. So if I just use this particular wizard to create all the necessary rules, I'll be getting XML stream rule created, parse rule created, connect SOAP, as well as properties, response properties, and apart from all this, it will be creating one activity also. So from where I can able to call this connect SOAP. Okay. But calling of an activity seems to be not encourageable as per PRPC, right? But that cannot be avoided 100%. So if we just go with this kind of wizard, we'll be having one automated activity also created. If at all, if we are going with this wizard, there will not be activity created or there will not be data page created. Okay, we can able to have either this particular connect SOAP rule created from data page or the activity. If you are going with this wizard, PRPC will not be creating any activity rule or any data page rule. Whatever the rule you want to create to call this particular connect SOAP, we can able to go with it. But if you are going with this, it will be creating one activity rule. That's it, nothing more difference than this. Okay, you can able to go with any of the wizard. If you just go with this, it will be creating one activity also. That's it. So this might not be available in the future versions. This is the legacy one, what we can able to see. If at all, if you want to have anything, if you want to have SOAP, REST or anything created apart from all this, we can have to go with this only. So this is the wizard where we can able to have any kind of rule that will be created automatically as part of this particular connect thing. So it is just a wizard. It's a just powerful wizard where we can able to have all the things created automatically. So what is the purpose of this particular wizard? That is what it is asking. So generate connector rules. So if I just use this, it will be having all the necessary rules like classes, properties, everything that will be created. If at all, if you're going for this option, generate mapping rules, it will be just creating only XML stream rule and XML parse rule. So my requirement here is I have to create all the necessary rules, right? And what is the metadata type? So metadata type I'll be getting using WSDL file. Okay. So as I told you, service provider has to give us one WSDL file. So based on that, only requester can able to consume the data. So first we have to get the WSDL file, and based on that only we have to design our requesting. Okay. So let us get that particular WSDL file. So WSDL file we can able to get it from service package. So this is the one, right? So this is the WSDL file. I mean, I'm going for WSDL file selection, and all the connector related rules will be going with organization integration class. So this is just a blind practice. So select the latest version, and what should be the base class? Base class meaning where we have to get all these rules created. I don't want to have all these created in the implementation class integration. I want all these particular rules to be created in the organization level integration class. Okay. And there, as I told you, with this wizard we'll be having one activity created. So where should be this connector activity class to be created? Okay, I should not be going for this implementation worker class. Why? Because I want to call this activity on a button click in particular section. Okay, so this section we can able to have it created in as part of the existing flow. We have all the sections created in the framework work class, right? So let me create the same activity in the framework work class. So in order to just to have inheritance applicable properly, I'm going with the existing structure. So click on next. So here it will be asking about the WSDL file document. So just to paste that URL, that's it. So what we are getting it from the service package, paste it. So click on next. So here it will be asking about the service name and port number. So by default for the service soap, I mean for the connection of this particular service soap, we have to use this one. We're having only one thing. So as per the package name, we'll be having this one only, and the port number will be 1.2. So this is the latest one. So this is something related to SOAP, not the Pega related configurations. So click on next. And here it will be asking us to select the method name. As I told you, in one WSDL file, we can able to have multiple methods. So service provider can able to give us multiple methods. So here we will be getting multiple methods if applicable. So we have to select the appropriate thing, and we have to give the password if it is authenticated by the service provider end. Okay. So by default, this particular WSDL file will be having only one method. So that is what we are saying. We have to just select and click on next. And before that, this method will be having the particular functionality, right? So before that, if you want to test it, also you can able to test it. So just click on test method. So you'll be getting this pop-up. Here we should be just entering the input. So click execute if you are getting the proper output or not. So we can able to see the company name is this one, policy amount. So we can able to see all the things coming perfectly in the XML format. Okay. So this method is working fine, meaning service soap is working fine. So just to select this and click on next. So select the output type, it should be generate data class. So data class meaning not the organization data class or any other data class. As I told you, data class meaning where we will be having exact data like XML stream rule, parse rule, or the necessary rules, connect soap rule. Okay, so if we have it like in generate data class, we'll be having all the things created in the organization integration class, what we are selecting it earlier. So this is just an review screen where we can able to say XML request rules or the response rules created. So XML stream rule has been created, XML parse rule has been created automatically. So in this whole process, we will not be having applicable like service package, and we will not create any XML stream rule or parse rule or the activity or the connect soap rule or the necessary properties. Actually, we have to be in a position to create few properties to send the request, and we should be having one class or one page created for that separately, and we should be having one separate class or the properties created for capturing the response. Even all these are not created as of now. Okay, we are just running one wizard and we are just giving the necessary details. Okay, so we can able to see these are all the things that PRPC is creating it for us. So there is one class created on top of our integration. There is another class created for the request page. This is for the response page, and it is creating request properties, response properties, and it is creating one data transforms also. Okay, so just click on finish. So it is creating soap rule activity, all this. If you are going with the early, I mean the next was wizard, we will not be having this activity created. That's it. So click on finish. Actually, may not be getting the chance to create the integrations for sure. So you'll be just given the work if the services are breaking, or if you want to just, you will be just getting a chance to analyze the existing things. You may not get it to create all these rules in your real-time project. Okay, so these are all the things that will be automatically created. You can just click on close. So this is a service package, right? Now we have seen all these rules created, right? So let us see the same in the App Explorer. Refresh this. We can able to see all these classes created automatically. Okay, so it will be creating one request page, and based on that request property will be created. So how PRPC will be knowing that this should be the request page, so this should be the request property, and for that it is creating one page or one class. How PRPC will be knowing all this? PRPC will be knowing based on the WSDL file and the model request. So based on the model request, it will be having all this created. So in the model response, will be having 4 properties. Okay, so it will be creating all these properties here. And of all these, this is the important one. Okay, so services service class is one of the abstract class where we will be having all the necessary rules created. So here we'll be having all the rules. So actually this is the thing what we will be using for the processing also. Okay, so there will be one request page created and the request property, and there will be one separate page created for the response, and one response properties will be created. And here we'll be having one connect soap rule that will be created automatically. Okay, here we'll be having XML stream file and parse file. Okay, so these are all the rules that will be created automatically as part of the services service dash. So if you closely observe, there will be something like dash at the last. So for any other class, we are not seeing this one, but only for this class, as of now, we are seeing this. Okay, so this is very old legacy class where we'll be having dash at the end. So before versions, I mean before 7 version or before 7 version, we used to have dash identified for the abstract classes. For the concrete classes, we will not be having dash at the last. For the abstract classes, we will be having dash. So based on this hyphen or the dash at the last, we will be just identifying whether it is an abstract or concrete. So this particular class is being used even in the version number 8. So just to make it upgradable, I mean just to make it for the easy for the migrating, they are still using the same naming convention for only this class. Okay. So this might be abstract, this might be abstract, but it is not given with dash at the last. Okay. So if I just open this particular connect soap, we can able to see this request service response everything. Okay. So here we'll be having this endpoint URL. So as I told you, endpoint URL is a thing where we can able to get the particular response. So there will be one stream file created. What are the stream file that has been created automatically that will be integrated with this connect soap rule, and it will be having one parse rule created, and it will be connected to this connect soap. Okay. So these are all the rules that will be created automatically. So now our challenge here is to call this connect soap rule from either activity or from the data page. As I told you, using this particular wizard, activity will be automatically created. Let us see that activity and let us make some modifications to call this particular connect soap rule from there. So we have created one activity in our framework work class, right? So it should be having created here. This is the one. Okay. So this is the name of the activity that has been created. So connect soap is also automatically being called here. We need not do anything. And here, whatever the thing we are sending here, if the user is trying to enter some PAN card number or anything, on clicking on submit button, we have to get that particular number from the from the clipboard. Okay. So in order to get the data from the clipboard and send it for the processing, we will be going for property set, or we can able to go for data transform. So that is the reason one data transform will be created automatically for passing the request parameters, and another data transform will be created automatically for passing the response mapping. Okay, we need not go for this data transforms in these cases. I can simply go for one property set. Okay, so as per my requirement, so I want to run on the same page only. So if we just see in the pages and classes, we can able to see this particular page is linked to this service class. So that is what we are seeing. So else we cannot able to make use of the properties from this class. Why? Because this is in the framework work class, and this particular properties what I'm trying to make use here, the request or the response properties are been from organization integration class. So both are completely not in an inheritance path. So that is the reason we'll be just linking the class with this page. This is done automatically, and we can able to make use of those properties here. Okay. So the requirement here is, after we designing one section, okay, we can able to have one value entered in that particular text box, and clicking on submit button, that value has to be passed as an input for this particular rule. Okay. So for that, I'm trying to send one request parameter. So what should be the request parameter? So request parameter should be something that has to be copied from the clipboard. So for testing purpose, I'm giving something like this one. Okay, actually this value we have to pass it dynamically from the clipboard. For the testing purpose, I'm hard coding this particular request, and this particular request will be sent in the connect soap rule, and we have to get the same response. We'll be getting the response in the same page, and we have to map it back to our properties. So let me go for property set again. So we'll be having all the details, necessary details like policy, company name, policy tenure, all these details onto this page. We have to get it copied into our clipboard, and from there we can able to make use in the existing section. Okay, clear, right? So for the testing purpose, I'm trying to map these properties to some dummy properties, some dummy existing properties. I'm mapping it to these properties for the testing purpose. So in this page, I will be having the response actually, and I'm just trying to map this company value. Actually, company value will be ABC or sample what we have given. So that has to be mapped to the first name. Okay. So I'm just saving it. So you understanding now, both of you, Umar, Tulani, getting confused anywhere?
No, Chandra.
Yeah. So for the testing purpose, I'm trying to map this to dummy properties. So I can able to call this particular activity from, I can able to call this from a button click, or we can able to have it like an on change or whatever thing we want. So let me run it standalone. Why? Because we are directly having these values hard coded, right? So I'm trying to run it standalone. Run this. So there is an issue. So request is sent perfectly, and we are getting the response also. Okay, so we're getting the response back also, no issues at all. So after we sending the request, we can able to see the response back, and these properties we can able to map it back wherever we want. Clear, right? If at all, if you want to go with second property also, it will be coming. So if we just run it, okay, so I have to hard code the value here, right? So this is not updated. So it is not updating, that's okay. So whatever the value we are sending it, it's coming automatically. So here we have to call this particular activity on a button click, or we can able to have it called somewhere. Okay. So as soon as we send the request, we can able to send this particular request assign from clipboard to this particular connect soap, either by going with a property set, or we can able to go for mapping within data transform rules. So PRPC is directly creating few data transform rules, that is for requesting, and one data transform for the one data transform from the response. Okay, so instead of that, we can able to go for property set also, or if you want to make use of this data transform also, you can able to make use of. So as soon as we run this particular data transform, we'll be having connect soap created. So this is the particular connect soap rule, what we are seeing here. Okay, so this particular connect soap rule will be executed and it will be having, so this particular value has to be given as a request here. Okay, so that will be converted into parsing and it will be having this value created in its clipboard, and from there we can able to get the data. Okay, so clear, right? So I'll give you one thing where we can able to have this particular activity called on a button. So you try to work on that. So there is nothing challenging here. You have to give something like a primary dot uh, policy number or anything. So what, create one section, and in that section we can able to have one text box for the policy number, and click and put a button there. On clicking on that, on entering any of the details like PN001, clicking on submit, you call this activity. So activity has to be called on a button click. Okay, and this value should be like primary dot that particular policy number. Okay. So once you get all these details, you will be getting the same values as a response. So in this property set, we can able to map the values back. We can able to have something like an primary dot policy tenure is equal to this response page dot policy tenure. Okay, so primary dot policy amount is equal to response dot policy amount. Okay, so these kind of things we can able to do. So that is very easy. We can able to do. Okay, so the major difference between this connect soap rule and the service soap rule is we will not be having any service package applicable for the connect soap rules, and we need not create any of the rules. All the rules will be created as part of the wizards only. Clear, right? Any doubts? Understood, no? Both of you?
Yes, Chandra.
So most of the cases, people will be going with service soap rules only, and recently people started working with REST rules. Okay, so these two are the things what they are being used very widely. So now we'll discuss something about REST rules. So REST is something like in service providing, right? So for that, if any of the application is acting like a service provider using REST as a protocol, they have to create a rule called service REST. Okay, so even the service rules are to be created in the organization, sorry, in the particular class level implement integration class only. So on top of this only, they have to have it created. So just like policy service details is the class that we have creating it here. They will be having one more class created on top of an integration. Okay. So, and the difference between service soap rule and service REST is service soap will be having only XML thing for the supporting. So in order to have data transmitted between service soap and the connect soap, they will be having only XML. Only XML can able to understand by the service soap or the connect soap. But whenever they are going with REST protocol, they can able to go for XML or JSON or text file also or anything. Okay, so this particular REST will be supporting most of the data for data transmissions, of which JSON is the default one and it will be used very widely. So JSON will be very lightweight when compared to XML. So that is the reason people started working on service REST. Okay, and in JSON, another important advantage is we need not create any stream rule or parse rule. Okay, so whenever we are going with XML rules, we have to go for streaming and parsing. But whenever we are going with JSON, the structure will be completely different when compared to XML. Okay, this will be completely different. So that is the reason we need not create any streaming or parsing rules. So if at all, if we just see the XML structure, we'll be having everything in terms of tags. So in this format, we'll be having. So here we'll be having policy number. So I'll be having something like policy details. So within this policy number will be there. The policy number is 1 dash policy number. So they'll be having something like this one. amount is 1000. So this is how XML format will be looking. So meaning this will be considered as an one of the page list. So we can able to observe. So this will be acting like in page list. So within page list, they will be having group of properties. So this is what we have to understand about the XML file. So XML file, by just seeing this, we should be understanding this will be considered as a page list where it will be having group of properties. But for the JSON, the structure will be different. So if we just see the same in the JSON, we'll be having everything in terms of brackets and square brackets. I mean, dot brackets and square brackets. Square brackets will be considered as a page list, and flower brackets will be considered as a normal properties. We can able to see the same also. So here we can able to see. So this is one of the square bracket. Okay. So this square bracket will be considered as a page list. So within this page list, it is having another page, and within this page, it is having another property. Sorry, this will be considered as a page list. This will be considered as a page, and this will be considered as a normal property. Okay. So based on this, we will have to understand whether it is a page list or a page. So that is the reason we will not be having any stream rule or parse rule created for this JSON. So that is the point what we have to understand. Since this is a service rule, we have to go for one service package. So as I told you, service package is a rule which can be used for multiple things. We can able to have multiple service rules. We can able to have multiple SOAP rules or multiple REST rules connected to this. So this will be the thing which will be responsible for sending all the file location there. So for if we are using this particular service package for the service SOAP, we will be having WSDL file shared. If at all, if we are using the service package for the service REST, we will be sharing HTTPS URL. Okay, so this HTTPS URL has to be shared to the requester, and requester should be in a position to consume the data. So the main purpose of the service package is to identify the access group, and next thing is it can able to generate the particular file location. So now let us work on one small requirement using this service REST. So we have already one data class for customer details, right? So there is one class created from our end about this customer details. So in this table, we'll be having all the repository or the data related to our customers. So since we are acting like a service provider now using the service REST, I should be in a position to give all the necessary customer details based on the customer ID. If the third party application or the requester is requesting for the customer ID, I have to provide all these details. Okay, I have to provide all these details as a response. Okay, so that should be our requirement. Okay, clear, right? So let us work on the same. As I told you, with this service REST, we need not create stream rules. Okay, so that is the reason there will not be any wizard applicable for this. So for connect SOAP or service SOAP, we will be having wizards applicable, and for the connect REST also we will be having wizard applicable. But for the service SOAP, so what are the things we're discussing about? For the service SOAP, there is no wizard applicable in PRPC. We have to create all the necessary rules manually. Clear, right? So now let me create one class on top of this integration, and after that let me create few properties. I mean, these are all the properties. This will be considered as a request, and all this will be considered as an response. So first let me create one service related class on top of this integration. So I'm trying to create one class. Service REST custom details, something like this. Okay, so for this we will be going with an implementation work integration classes, right? Okay, so I have created one class, and on top of this class we have to create the necessary properties. The request properties I have to create, and the corresponding class and the request parameters, sorry, request response related properties I have to create. Since we have one data class responsible for having all these properties, I can able to go for page creation onto this particular class. So I will be creating two separate pages, one for the request property and one for the response properties, to make use of the same properties. So okay, so I'm trying to create two properties, page properties, giving something like request. So I'm creating it in the organization integration, sorry, in this particular integration. Save as this to response also. Okay, so I have created two pages. So now create one service REST rule. So as I told you, service REST rule or any of the service rule has to be defined with one package. So we have already created one package that is with an administrator access, and I can able to make use of the existing package. Okay, so I'm trying to make use of the existing one, and we have to give the service REST rule name. Give something like okay, just the details, service REST. Okay. So we can able to go for these versions. By default it will be starting with 01. You can able to go with that, and here we have to define one template. Okay, so what should be the template here? Meaning whatever the thing that requester will be sending, we should be in a position to consume. As I told you, will not be getting anything like an XML rules here. We'll be getting everything like an endpoint URL, which will be considered as a normal HTTPS URL. So this is not considered as a WSDL file, sorry, WSDL URL or the XML URLs. We'll be getting the data in terms of this one. We can able to see the example here. So whether slash state or city. Okay, so if the user, if the requester is sending only one parameter, we should be having defined within one curly braces. If the requester is sending two parameters, based on these two parameters, if you want to filter the data and if you want to send back the response, that has to be defined like this. If he's expecting the data based on three parameters, so it has to be given again slash, and within flower bracket he has to send it. So whatever the thing that user is sending as part of the, I want to have it defined here. Okay, so I'm giving something like custard details. So this is just up to us. We can able to define however we want, I mean the names however we want. So structure should be same. So slash, and here we can able to go with cust id. Okay, so within flower bracket we will be getting the customer id requests sent by the requester. So I'm just creating and opening. Okay, so what should be the page name? So this is the page where we will be having all the things created, right? So give the page name, and you not go for data transform here, and we can able to see this will be considered as an endpoint URL. So this has to be shared. Okay, so the requester, what they will be sending, what they will be doing till here, everything will be common what the requester is sending. So here they will be having something like chg1 or chg2, whatever the thing they are sending as a request, that will be changed here and we'll be getting that as an uh, particular URL, and based on this only we will be having one activity created and we will be having the necessary details. Okay, and once we get this particular URL, we have to get back the rest, I mean we have to get back the particular request. So request we will not be getting it as a parameter, so we have to get it directly from the request related property, right? So they, so request dot customer ID, so this will be considered as our request. Okay, so the request here should not be the parameter, it should be something like an this particular request page dot request customer ID. So if we go to methods tab, we can able to see something like an get, post, put, delete. Okay, so this will be specific for the REST services. So REST service has an additional advantage to make use of these existing functions. So this is just similar to when comparison with an SQL, we can able to have this get method used if we want to pull any of the instances, just like in select query. Okay, if at all customer wants some of the details based on the customer ID, what we have to do, it is we have to fetch all the necessary details, right? It is something like in select query. So we have to make use of this particular method. Based on the request, if you want to just update any of the fields, updating or inserting, we have to go for either post method or put method. Both are meant for same purpose only. So suppose if the customer wants to have his details updated in the database, okay, so this database might be some external third party. Suppose if I just want to have some details updated as per my policy, so which is maintained by third party application. So what requester will be doing, requester will be just raising one request from there, and based on the particular user ID or the request number, we will be having it updated as part of this particular function executed. So if you write any of the activity within this post, so within this activity, if we have anything called like an update query or objsa or anything, so that has to be defined in this post. Okay, so this is very just simpler to select a query, and these two are for insert or update, and this is for the delete query. One second. So now in our requirement, based on the request ID, we have to get back some details, right? So let me create one activity and let me call that activity here. Okay, so only this particular get thing will be triggered. So let me create one new activity that is like full custody details service rest, something else. So open. So in order to create it, I'm just opening it. Actually, we have to create that activity rule also separately. So I'm trying to do that. So first I can able to go for page new. I'm creating something like tempo page. So after this, I can able to go for obj open. Onto the same temp page. So from this class, right? So what should be the thing? So the customer ID is equal to. So we can able to provide anything. So it can be something like primary dot study dot customer ID. Okay. So once we get all the necessary details, we can able to go for page copy. Yeah. One second. Yeah, sorry. So after this, we can able to go for page copy, and whatever the data we're getting out of this obj open, will be having data stored into this temp page, right? So I can able to copy the whole data into this particular response page also. So that is, let me copy it from here. So for the copying purpose, I'm doing this. Not depend. So I'm saving this. Okay. And make sure that any of the activity is being called from the integrations, it should be off, this one. So you can uncheck this. You can able to have this option checked. If it is not given, it might be having some errors thrown sometime. Why? Because if we are not giving the direct access to execute it from the client or the server service. So just to save it. Okay. So we have created one activity and save this as well. Okay. We have to call this activity here. That's okay. And we have to map the parameters also. So in this particular get method, after we calling one activity, we have to pass again the parameters. So this is for the request tab and this is for the response. So in the request, we can able to define the same here. So whatever the thing we are defining it here, we can able to define the same. Okay, in the query string. So in the query string, we have to define. So I want to map all the necessary properties from the clipboard, right? So I'm selecting this one. And what should be the mapping property? It should be request dot customer ID. Okay, so this is the value what I want to map from the clipboard, and that will be considered as a customer ID. So this is related to request, and we have to define the same from the response also. So once we define the activity, this activity has to be known that this will be considered as a request, and we have to get back the same in the response as well. Okay, so here in the response, we can able to define that the response should be of JSON format. So that is the thing important here. Okay, and this has to be mapped from the clipboard one, that is from the response page. So you can able to give any meaningful name for this one. That's so I'm giving something like cluster details processing. So these are all the important things that are to be defined within this particular functions. So I'm saving it now. Okay, so we have created one activity, we have created one service REST rule, and we have created few properties. So let me run this particular service REST rule. So I have to give the customer ID. So I think we have customer ID details. So I'm giving something like 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me run it. I'm giving something like 1, 2, 3, 4. So click on execute. So we can able to see all the necessary details, right? So you can able to see customer ID as 1, 2, 3, 4, and nominee one value is this one, state value is this one, and hospital value. So all the things what we are defining there, that we are getting it here. Okay. So we can able to see one flower bracket as well as, I mean, we can able to see everything in the flower brackets. So this is one of the page where we'll be having all the single value properties. If it is having page list, it should be having some square brackets. So this will be considered as a response and it will be sent back. Clear, right? And we can able to have this particular URL shared to the requester, I mean for the requester, right? So in order to have this particular thing to be consumed by the requester, what we have to do, we have to share WSTL file in case of SOAP, and for the rest we have to share him some HTTPS file. So ultimately we can able to get it from the service package only. So if you see, for this particular service package, we can able to have REST rule as well as SOAP rules. If I just open the SOAP, I can able to see the corresponding method name and the WSTL. If at all, if we can able to have something like REST, we can able to see its own details. Okay, so this will be the request parameter. So we can able to test it from here also. Okay, so, clear, right? Okay, so in tomorrow's class, we'll discuss how to make use of this particular service rule by creating some connect REST. Okay, after that, we'll be just discussing about the exceptional handling also. Okay, clear now? Any doubts?